Okay, what I'm going to try to do today is make this little knife here. And I just looked at images of knives on the internet and I copied this picture and I'm going to cut it out. And what I want to do, I've made two knives so far. This was my first one. It was a little bit of a dud. It ended up looking kind of like a, envelope opener. And this was made from a file, and then I took a file and I made this knife, and I really like this one. It came out good. It's polished. It's hard to believe that you can go from this file to that kind of polishing if you take your time with it. And this one, this is a soft piece of wood, but you can see, it's pretty sharp. It does a good job. But I'd like to try to make a little bit of a more interesting shape here, and what I'm going to use, you can see I have laying around me. I'm going to use a scissors, antique. This is a very old file, probably harder than the modern ones. I'm going to use an angle grinder, and this is a cheapo angle grinder I got, made in China. It doesn't even have a brand name. It's so cheap. I think I paid $9.99 for it. I'm a little nervous about using a high-speed tool that I spent 10 bucks on a long time ago. The brand name is Angle Grinder, so you can tell it's not much. And then I got a $49 little 1-inch belt sander here from Harbor Freight, and I'm anxious to use that, and I use this 40 grit to take it down. So between this angle grinder and this here sander, I'm going to try and take it down and make it into a decent looking knife. So if you'd like to see how I do that, I know there's probably a bunch of other more talented people to watch, but you can see a rookie take a shot at it. Why don't you join me? So I'm going to be using this full face shield and ear cover, plus I also have earplugs in. I want to keep it real quiet, and I'm going to use this dust mask to take care of any dust. I'm also going to put my vacuum down so it will suck away dust that comes off the cutting of the metal. So you can see my pattern fits on here just perfectly, and that's great. Well, I got into this job and I found I needed a little bit of an upgrade. I got this Bauer from Harbor Freight. It's a pretty nice tool. I think this is going to do a much better job. Looking at what I'm doing right now, you can see I've kind of been notching away and carving away at this. I want to get my basic shape before I go over to my little belt sander and start kind of making it look nice. Okay, you're beginning to see this shape take place. Not much of a point yet, but you can see there's the outline of the knife we're looking for. Now, after a lot of belt sanding, you can see the black is being removed. It's coming to a sharp blade, and it's beginning to look like the pattern above it. And all this is from that ugly black file you see to the right of the knife. I even put a little profile on the point there. So this is after my fine belt sanding. I still have not sharpened and buffed it yet, but you can see it's coming along pretty good. Well, the final thing I'm going to do with the knife is buff it out, and you can see I've got a pretty good shine, and I took it down with that orbital sander, and now I'm going to take it and I'm going to put buffing compound on here, and then just make sure when you're doing this, hold on tight, because boy, it can rip it right out of your hand. So this is a diamond stone I have, and it has two sides on it. This side is 400, and I can flip it over, and this is 1000 grit. I know you're supposed to use probably some type of polishing oil. This is motor oil, I think. There we go. Now that I have oil on the diamond stone, I can take my knife and hold it at about a 30-degree angle, and first I go back and forth, but then I start going in circular motions, going from the handle area all the way to the tip, continually holding that 30-degree angle. And then I'll flip it over and do the other side. And then when I get done with my sharpening, I'll give it the old fingernail test. And I don't know if you see that scratching up fingernail on that dirty old knife-making fingernail. You can see that's pretty good. Got some thin stick-fast glue here and some accelerator. I'm going to take the accelerator and put it on these two pieces of wood. Take the stick-fast and just put a little bit right there and right there. Now this is going to set up quickly, so I have to make sure I put it exactly where I want it, and that's going to be right there. And I'll hold it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then hold it down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now these become one piece, and the next thing I'm going to do is trace on each of these. I have one that I can sacrifice, and this is probably going to be my good one. I'm going to trace my handle out here and then cut it out close to it with my scroll saw. I'll be cutting outside the line by about an 1/16 of an inch, and then later I can sand down to the metal of the saw. So you can see here I have the basic outline of my handle, and I have a little bit left to sand off on the edge, which is good. And this is double thick, so what I'm going to do while it's together is I'm not going to do any sanding on the edge. That is going to remain until I get it glued to the metal. But I am going to carve it in with a sanding belt and angle everything while it's like this, and then I can glue it down and take care of the edge later, if that makes sense to you. So here you can see that I've beveled all the way around, even including in here. I haven't done anything to the outside edge. I want that to extend and be able to be sanded right to the metal. But all of this has been done prior to gluing it down to the knife. Now I'm going to pull apart these two handle pieces by just putting a knife in here. Easier said than done. It's funny how when you get on camera, all of a sudden things get more difficult. So there are my two handle parts. One's going to go like that. So here we go. I've got my two-part epoxy, and I'm mixing it up real good. This is a 5-minute epoxy, so it doesn't give you too much time to mess around. So I'm going to take this, after I've mixed it really good, I'm going to take it and just slop it on here. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I wish I could work this fast. Notice I put the glue on every area, and then I'll flip it over and do it on the other side. What's really important here is when you put a little bit of pressure on this, the wood pieces will travel. They'll kind of ooze across the handle. You must make sure that the wood extends beyond the metal. I'm going to use this stick fast instant CA glue, and I'm going to put basically 3 or 4 coats of this over the wood, and I'm going to hit it with this accelerator so I can keep adding coats. I'm going to basically plastic coat it, and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to use micro mesh sanding pads, but I'm going to take these micro mesh and sand it down to a polish and finally buff it. This is my favorite part because watch how things pop when I do this. So I'll put a little bit on here and then I'll smooth it on. And you can see, voila, beautiful color. You notice my finger stuck to that super glue, but luckily I have my glove on, so you got to be careful with that. Well, there it is, a knife from a file. Thank you for watching.